What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? I'm Mr. Rad, and it is time to pick up some top speed in the RADX7. However, we have a few things we have to fix, or at least change such that we can do some testing of the top speed and some testing of, well, the car itself. So, the last time I had this car out was with Gears and Gasoline at Summit Motorsports Park in West Virginia. The RADX7 ate up that track. It flat ripped. However, I had upgraded my catch can between that track day and the previous track day in hopes that my filling up my catch can in one lap situation would have been fixed. Nothing really changed. So, the double vents, nothing, it didn't really make a big difference. But it was super fun to be out on track with the Gears and Gasoline guys. So here's some highlights from that day. That track day was super fun, and the RADX7 shreds, even kind of gets a little bit of air coming over the ski jump right before the carousel at that racetrack. The catch can situation is still a nightmare. So I've got this really trick radium, basically like Grid Life track day legal size catch can. Some of these organizations require you to have a certain size on your car, just such that if something weird happens, you don't oil down the track. So we went with the big one. This is a vent to atmosphere setup. I've got two vents on my engine, so one line comes from the passenger side of the engine and one line comes from the driver's side of the engine, both up on the front cover, very high up. The issue I was thinking was like, if I'm coming out of a corner and I drop the throttle all the way full and turn and boost builds and oil is sloshed over to one side in the pan, it just shovels all that oil into my catch can, because before I was only picking up oil from one side of the engine, and that was at the center iron like crankcase vent, so it wasn't really working well. Now we're at the front cover, so all that oil should slosh backwards regardless if it goes left or right, but my catch can is still filling up. So I'm going to put a drain back system on this catch can, and we're going to allow it to drain back into the oil pan via the front cover vent that I installed. So it's lower than where the catch can is currently mounted. The only issue is this catch can does not have a large enough port in my head to drain back at the speed that I'm filling it up. So I'm going to drill a big hole in this catch can, and we're going to hook up the dash 10 line to the bottom of it such that it can drain back into the engine. If your car isn't dumb like mine and fill your catch can up every run, they do provide, Radium has this very trick drain on the bottom that you can install, which I have, but it just doesn't go. Here's an interesting thing. I'm gonna pull out the filter element in here and clean it out with some brake cleaner, just because if there's any, at the track when oil comes out of this, it makes a giant mess of oil everywhere. So we have oil spraying on all of my stuff. It's great rust prevention. However, it just makes a mess of my engine bay. And I wonder if maybe my filter, having had all that oil go through it, is just clogged and also not letting the crankcase breathe. We have oil everywhere. A bunch of steel wool in here. Looks like some mesh. So I should be able to spray all this out with some brake clean and wipe up. This is literally just pure clean Valvoline VR1. It's gonna be a nightmare. Gotta get all of this clean. We need this to aerate and breathe properly. Should be able to see a bunch of air through all this steel wool, but you gotta think this is just some fuel with 2-stroke oil in it, that it should let all of this drain through here, in theory, fairly quickly. I figure just rinsing this out with some fuel, which is going to pull all the oil out of it, should allow more air to pass through it. I used a red Solo cup, but not the regular, you know, Toby Keith version of a red Solo cup. And you can just see how much dirtier that is down in there versus, you can imagine, that was clean 93 octane fuel. So hopefully, I'm also going to pour this through the catch can. Should, in theory, clean out the catch can itself, bottom of that as well. So all of that should run out the bottom of the catch can. And I'm going to let all of this stop dripping, and we'll take the bottom cup off. The catch can has like an unscrewable bottom to it, so we can pull that off, modify it for a -10, hook the line up, we should be good to go. So here's that other vent I added to the front cover on the passenger side of the engine. Just trying to help with that oil slosh problem I was having and ultimately filling this up super fast. So from the bottom of the catch can over here to that point, it still slopes downward. So ideally oil can drain out of that fast enough that when I fill it up, it doesn't, you know, the rates of ins and outs, right? We need it to go out faster than it's going in so I can do unlimited hot laps at the track. And then we can find out what the next part of the car is gonna break is. So that's the mess you can expect to see in your typical catch can, just some murky oil with lots of, you know, signs of moisture, which is kind of the white stuff in there. It's like when your oil is cool and you start your car and then it has to cook all the moisture out of your engine, that's kind of what you're getting. But we'll get the rest of this cleaned out, and then there's plenty of real estate on the bottom of here to drill a big hole. So no going back now. Sorry to my super nice catch can. The way this fitting works, it's threaded obviously, but instead of having to thread the catch can, there's these little O-rings, and one O-ring goes on the outside, and then there's actually a nut and another O-ring that goes on the inside, so you clamp this down over the surface area. It's one of those, like, if you're doing a turbo drain on a stamped steel oil pan like these cars have, these fittings work really well for just tightening that down, cinching it in, versus trying to weld to that super thin sheet metal. We'll cinch this baby down, and we'll have a big drain. So the only thing that sucks about this is that the -10 fitting now protrudes up from the bottom of the catch can, which means I'm still gonna need radium's drain in order to drain the last, like, you know, 3/8 of an inch out of this thing. So this should at least keep it at bay once we're, you know, filling it up pretty much. So this is what I like to call improvisation. It's like in Fast and Furious 1 when they're like, if you can't find the right tool to fix your car in this garage, then you don't belong around the car. Well, same goes for the Rad Workshop. I've got a -10, just regular AN fitting, and a vacuum cap. So I'm going to just put this on without the line, and we're gonna put this vacuum cap on here like so. I think I'm gonna throw a little bit of safety wire around this just so things don't fall off, and we will just thread this on there. And now we've got a red, white, and blue AN fitting, like a classic muscle car, in our engine bay to cap off that port so that all the air has to go through the catch can system. And then hopefully this doesn't spray oil on all of my nice paint, and I can finally keep the car clean for once instead of it like just attracting dust. Fortunately, there's not like a ton of fall in this line. I thought it would be a lot more pronounced, but it goes down. It's just not crazy. So next on the list of parts we've got to change to go faster, and ultimately the whole point of this video is how much faster are we going to go just changing out our wheels and tires, because ultimately the little baby tire, the little baby wheel and tire is about 1.5 inches overall shorter than the new one for the car, but not new for the planet. They're just new for the car. So these are a 245 40 17 Falcon RT 660. This is a 225 45 15 RT660. So you can see much smaller, in addition to, honestly, the 245 is probably overall, I don't know, what is that, 20 millimeters wider, so 2 centimeters wider. It's about an inch wider. But the ultimate big thing we need here is the height. So this tire is taller than this one, thus more top speed. Just like changing the gears in your bicycle or changing the gears in your car, this should make us go faster. Ideally, this fits in here. The offset and everything, I'm not too worried about the width. This is a 17x9 plus 25. That's a 15x8 0. So this should just fit right in here without hitting anything on the back. Now we're not going to put the same wheel and tire in the front. So, you know, don't judge me. We got plenty of room. Honestly, I'm curious to see how this thing looks on 17s because I really want to do the like Group C wide body on this car and some big old flares like bigger than this, and then just run 17s all the time and then make up the aesthetically unappealing nature of an old RX-7 on giant rims with aero. So like nice side skirts and a diffuser, thus giving the appearance of the body being lower, but ultimately, you know, the frame rail will still be a little bit higher than if I was running a 15-inch wheel. But those Group C cars just look so good. And honestly, the RADX7 would look pretty good on fake TEs, which is what these are. These are VAR Stowen wheels with a fake sticker on them. However, nothing beats a Mini Light or a Super Light or a Panasport. This is the best wheel right here. Best wheel ever. Prove me wrong. It's the best wheel. Watanabe, Panasport, Mini Light, whatever you want to call it. That one is the best for this car. And for a lot of cars too. Maybe not RX-8s, but definitely for this one. I feel like typical Ricer YouTube guy whenever I'm like, whoo, this thing actually looks pretty dang tough on these wheels, you know? I always say I'm never going to upload a video where I just change the wheels of my car and say, hey, look, my car is new. But look at that. The fitment's pretty tough. Honestly, I just wish I could fit like a 245 like that all the way around. You know, like when we go to the big flares eventually, then this size wheel and tire, like, we'll have to go even more aggressive. Like that 17x9 plus 25, more like 17x10.5 plus 25 or plus 30 or something. Because you can even see, just looking at this angle, the front wheels poke on my car just a bit. But with all the camber I have, McPherson strut life, max camber gain, it just like goes up and tucks in and doesn't rub the fender. Or well, it does, but it doesn't rub the fender in a destructive way. It just like loves and caresses the fender a little bit. So thing's got the meats on it now. Look at that. Now we can put the power down. I should be able to turn the boost up too, which will be fun to flash in the 14 PSI tune because it's not going to spin third gear. With the little tires, it spins third gear and things get a little hectic. So I'm going to take this thing out and we're going to do another test run. So remember, our goal is the current top speed is 158 miles an hour. We're going to change the wheels, and our theoretical top speed is going to be 169 miles per hour. Now, I don't know that the car is just going to be comfortable enough to go that fast, so my 5th gear speed that I'm targeting, just to verify that the math is correct, on the tire size change for, you know, its relative speed accomplishment is 143 miles per hour, so that's what I'm going to be looking for in 5th gear at 8,200 RPM. So let's go see if this little first gen's got it, and let's see how big of a difference the tire size makes. Successful test passes. However, few things that I felt in my butt while we were driving out there. So, first things first, the bigger tires, I can definitely feel that the car is just a little bit not as get up and go-y as it used to be. So it doesn't have as much acceleration, which is what's going to happen when you put like a taller tire, taller gear. You know, you increase your top speed, you're taking away the mechanical advantage. Well, let me tell you, I can feel the weight of these tires because the tires I had on there before were super light and super small. So you can feel it. Second, third, fourth gear, you can really feel it. It's 5% slower in acceleration in the butt. The second thing is, I can feel that front splitter up there. So whenever I kind of crest into the top of fourth gear and grab fifth gear, you can feel that the car definitely has a lot more drag. There's definitely a lot more, you know, force pushing against the car to slow it down. And we're going to look at the logs from those two pulls. We'll see, you know, was I chicken footing it? Did I really stay in it the whole way? Let's see. What did we hit in fifth? Oh, I kind of chicken footed it a little bit, didn't I? So we're not even quite to 7,000 here. So I kind of shifted at 6,800. So I can do the math on that. I doubt. So we did 6,200 in sixth gear as well. So we'll have to look at what 6,200 in sixth gear gets us. Let's see what the return trip was. Almost tickled 7,000 in fifth gear as well, and then I chicken footed it again, but we did go 6,400 in sixth on that run. So let me run some math real quick. Our engine RPM was 6,900 in fifth, so we're only going to be looking at the fifth gear row, which is 1-to-1 gear ratio, that we're going 122.6. So let's go over here and look at, we were 6,400 RPM in sixth, so let's knock the RPM down. And in sixth, we were going 136.02. So definitely not as fast as we went the last time. I'll have to look and see how much boost we were making, and that's probably why. So I definitely did not have the same map, or we have a boost leak, because it should make 10 pounds of boost, like 9 point something on this map, and it only made 6 pounds of boost. So we could have popped a charge pipe off, I guess. That wouldn't be an uncommon thing to happen on my car, but looks like we've got some investigation to do, because for me, a lot of that pull is feeling what the car is, you know, telling you, not so much just watching an RPM gauge and trying to get the top speed I want. So it's like, hey, the car is telling me I should shift right now. So we shift, and then, you know, you kind of, it talks to you a little bit while you're driving. Like, if it's getting uncomfortable, then it's going to tell you it's uncomfortable. So definitely feeling a little bit of that here, looking at these logs, just as, you know, not entirely the most ideal. Should have just stayed in it. I just didn't stay in it long enough. I mean, 69.76 in fifth, so that's basically 7,000, so that's 130 mile an hour. It just should have got there quicker. So another thing is, let's check the catch can to see if our fixed the catch can. We shouldn't see any oil in here. It should have drained back, but we should see if any. There's a little bit of residue on the actual dipstick, but it does not come up, you know, fairly to where my thumb is. So we have a 1/2 inch of residue on the dipstick. So that means that the drain back is working effectively and the oil is draining out. Or because I went through and cleaned out all that filtration, the stainless steel mesh, that we're allowing it to breathe better. So that's a huge win. Kind of irked that I didn't run it all the way out the back. That's a little bit unlike me to not have a heavy foot. So in conclusion, do bigger tires make your car go faster? And here's the deal. They will. But you've just got to make sure that you have all your boost. In addition to, it's just going to take you longer to get to that top speed with a taller tire. So for the RADX7, yes, we did go faster in a lower gear than it would have before we changed the tire. So that's a good win. Big win. But for now, I've got a boost leak to find. So I'm going to investigate into that. We've got a track day coming up. Turbo coming for the yellow car. The green Cannonball Run car, I'm pumped. It's like my little short video I made. This is orange. That is yellow. It's like, I know the difference between the colors, but here's a funny story. Whenever I was in Spanish class in like middle school and they had to teach us the colors in Spanish, like naranja and Amarillo or something, like Amarillo, Texas, that's how I always remembered it. I'm pretty sure that Amarillo is orange and naranja is yellow. But ever since I learned orange and yellow in Spanish, I get orange and yellow mixed up all the time. And it's not that I see that this is the wrong color. I'm not colorblind, I promise. That is yellow. It fades to orange and goes to red. This stripe is 100% yellow, and my shirt is 100% orange. But if I'm just like, look at that orange car over there, I'm going to say the wrong color sometimes because I blame learning Spanish. So, with that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, leave a like on the video, subscribe, comment below any questions you got. I promise the next test run we will definitely be making a run with more boost so that we can accelerate a little bit quicker and ideally confirm that the big tires are going to make a difference, which the math says they make a difference. Whether I can actually prove it with a documented speed difference or not, we still have a lot of just, we're taking the 1979 RX7 into speeds where it wasn't exactly designed to go, and arguably it's not really the most prepared vehicle to do this. So wish us luck. With that, thank you so much for watching. Live a life you don't need a vacation from, and we will see you guys in the next video. Keep it rad. Alright. So we know, we're nerding out, that the fit and finish of the big wheels looks pretty good on the little car. Honestly, after seeing it for like the rest of today and going to drive it, they're just not super lights. And it just makes the back of my car stick up too high. Like I need like a skirt or something, or radius the arch bigger so that the bigger flare goes on so the wheel sucks up into the back, which then means I need to back half the whole car so we can have a proper 4-link with a serious Watts link like all the Group C cars. And then in the front, I'd love to like get rid of the RX7 struts and go to a Group 4 Escort strut like the rally cars have, which my rally car ideally would put that stuff on the Colt eventually. But all of those things, it's still just a 1979 RX7. Last call though. Pops up or down? Does it look better with them up, or does it look better with them down? Comment below. Peace, guys.